So before we get started, if you could take out your cell phones, your smartphones, and go to this, normaltest.com. This was something that we put together, and we'll be using it during the talk. Okay, so my parents started dating as soon as they started high school. So they met on their school bus, and they're still together today. So they're part of a dying breed of people that are the high school sweethearts that fall in love and then have a marriage. And obviously I came out of that. And so they told me that story repeatedly as I was growing up about how they met each other so young. And so I wanted to try to beat their record. I wanted to try to find someone that I fell in love with before high school that I spent the rest of my life with. So I got a girlfriend. We started dating at the end of 7th grade. And we spent hours and hours and hours on the phone. At that time, that was the closest thing any of us had to social media. And so we had, $100 phone bills that our parents paid. And so after doing this for about 4.5 years, the two of us were seniors now in high school and getting ready for college. And so I went away for a summer camp at a university. And the university was about 2.5 hours away, and this was the furthest apart that the two of us had been since we started dating. And so because of how the rooms were set up in this place, when we'd spend our hours on the phone each night, in the background, she could hear voices. She could hear other people talking. She could hear girls talking in the background. And so this started to get to her, and it started to introduce really negative thoughts into her head. Despite everything that I told her that nothing was going on, she didn't really believe me. And so during one night, particularly that was really hard, right before she hung up the phone, she said, "I'm going to go kill myself." Now, this was the hardest moment of my life. I was 17, and I had absolutely no idea what to do. So I thought about it, and I knew that if I called the police, then if she doesn't do it, the rest of her life's going to be screwed up. Her parents are going to put her into therapy, and it's going to be something that changes her life for the worse. But if I don't, and she does it, then none of that stuff matters. So the best thing I could think of to do was to call all the people that I knew to try to find someone that was nearby where she lived. And I did, and I found someone, and I told that person to go to her. I got a phone call an hour later, and it was from her. And she said she was obviously still alive. And that was the best moment of my life, when the person that you love is still with you. But it was a horrifying emotional roller coaster, as you can imagine. And during the course of that camp, we went through that same roller coaster 5 more times. So at that point, this was, my first kind of introduction to the topic of suicide. And I had had other issues from when I was growing up as a kid, from child abuse and rape and a number of others. And so when you think about these things, they're very hard for people to talk about. So in a room like this, if you've had one of these issues, stand up and feel free to show yourself and talk about it, you'll see that essentially no one will. But if you do it in an anonymous way, which you can do through technology, you get a completely different result. So before we began, I had everyone here answer this simple question: which of these have impacted your life? And this should load the results. So this is the percentage of the audience right here who has been touched by one or more of these things. So 72%, so 3/4 of all the people here have had to deal with one of these things. And you can see this is significantly over 50%. And so this is actually normal. It's actually normal for people to go through these things, but you don't think about that because they're things that no one talks about. And so I tell people you can't control the things that happen to you in your life, but you can control what you do about them. And so for us, we started after school. And right now, after school is the largest social network for teens. It's used by millions and millions of kids every day, and it's in 90% of all US high schools. And it's focused around anonymity. Basically allows people to communicate anonymously. So this gives a completely different experience from what most people are used to with social media, where at the forefront is your identity, and you have to tailor that, and you have to be thinking very cognitively about how the things you post are going to be viewed, but not when it's anonymous. So part of our goal with anonymity is to make it warm and fuzzy. And we do that by basically encouraging positive behavior and then restricting negative behavior. And if you take the activity that everyone does anonymously and you remove the negative content, you're left with some pretty good stuff. Let's see, so this loads, there we go. So this was something that someone had posted. I hadn't cut since October, all of a sudden got really depressed and relapsed. Nobody even cares about me. On the bottom is a comment from someone that said, you need to let out hurting in a different way. Working out helps, and it's beneficial for not only the anger and the pain, but you get hotter while you're doing it. You're not going to get that type of advice from a guidance counselor. Let's see, so this was another one. I like how we come together as a school when we're anonymous, but not in real life. Some people on this app are better than counselors. So we tried to make the experience, when you think about those issues that you've had, and you thought back to when you had them, if you were to go to a parent, a teacher, or a friend, just think mentally, who would you be most likely to go to? And the obvious answer is a friend. And that's why we've made the app the way that we do. It's very, let's say, edgy. It feels like teens, as opposed to feeling like something that's been prepared by counselors or parents. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so on the app, when someone makes a post, there's an algorithm that automatically detects the types of issues that a number of you have had. And as soon as they make it, the mascot, a little tiger, pops out from the corner and asks if they'd like to chat with someone about that anonymously. And so if they pick that, they're able to talk to someone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that's a trained person at handling crisis. And so with this, we've helped over 100,000 teens and saved a countless number of lives. So I want to end with a quote that when I was in high school, I printed this quote out and I taped it to my locker. And I put it up when kids were stressing out about finals and trying to get into college. And it's from one of my favorite bands. It's a punk band from Chicago, a band called the Broadways. And if it comes down to just you and I standing on the last corner of the last town, of the last city, in the burning world, you'll still have someone on your side. Thank you.